New Orleans signed CJ Spiller for something other than sitting on the fucking bench.
31 other passes that should have been intercepted with you.
So that's why I have David Johnson on my board higher.
If you're doing a live draft, wait till you're drunk to draft this guy. We welcome you to the Fifth Down. What up, Fifth Downers? This is Johnny Slokes, and you're listening to the Fifth Down Fantasy Football Podcast. I got my special buddy Rico Suave on the other line to help me out. We're doing a special little show called The Late Season Blues, episode 45. You can catch us on iTunes. Please, feel free to leave us a rate and review. We've been getting some love lately. We're also on Spreaker, Blog Talk Radio. Rico, man, what's up?
Hey, Johnny. How's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking the other day, and you're bringing up some concerns about, league management. So I thought, you know what? I'm sure a lot of other people are experiencing what you're going through. So why not bring it to light and let's bring it out in the air and talk about it,
Yeah, absolutely. We've all got different ways of thinking about things. So what's right, what's wrong, what's ethical, what's not. And it'd be interesting to talk and get some different opinions and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Before we jump into things, there's a couple of news notes, not a whole lot, just a couple of players I want to mention that you should probably monitor going into Thursday. Obviously Andrew Luck's concussion protocol. I don't think he's going to play. I know Devontae Adams was able to do it on a Thursday night, but everyone reacts differently to concussions. So we'll get into the Indianapolis situation a little bit later on in the show. Theo Riddick, he was limited in today's practice. That's pretty much been the norm since he injured his ankle, so I don't really think you have to worry about him too much. But, one guy you do have to worry about is Stephon Diggs. He missed practice today. It's a short week. It's with a knee injury. Early reports saying he could miss Thursday, the Thanksgiving game against Detroit. And what do you think about that?
I think it's huge if he can't go for Minnesota. I think he's their best offensive playmaker right now. And if he can't go, they've got – yeah, the running game's been awful, as everybody that follows football knows. The offensive line has been decimated by injuries. After the first few weeks of Sam Bradford looking like a really solid quarterback, he's kind of come back down to earth, and he's shown that he's average at best. They've got Kyle Rudolph, who's having a solid season. He's a good red zone target, but if they've got no Stephon Diggs, who are they going to throw the ball to? Adam Thielen? No disrespect to him, but he's not. He gets decent targets, but
It's interesting you brought him up, though. When Stephon Diggs missed week 5, he actually had a pretty good stat line. I think it was like 5 for 119 with a touchdown, and he does get to go against Detroit, but you really got to worry about it because, Detroit's defense has been looking a little bit better lately,
Yeah.
They're starting to get a little bit healthier.
They've allowed less than 20 points in their last 4 games. Their defense still concerns me. They get gashed by running backs at times. They still are a little bit weak at defending tight ends. The pass rush hasn't been great, but they come up with key plays and key situations.
Yeah, I've been streaming tight ends against them all year.
Yeah. And it's a good strategy. I think they've given up 9 touchdowns to tight ends this season. But back to your original question, if Stephon Diggs doesn't play, I don't think there's anybody on Minnesota's team worth starting in this matchup. And I think it's a huge blow as far as Minnesota's chances to win the game go. Because I think Minnesota's offense is already one-dimensional. You remove Stephon Diggs, and how are they going to move the ball?
Stephon Diggs was not only their passing game, he was kind of like their running game, too. They used to use him on a lot of those short little passes towards the line of scrimmage, kind of like what the Lions are trying to do with Golden Tate. But they're also working him in with crossing routes over the middle, too, So that's what was bringing his value so high.
I think if Stephon Diggs doesn't play, you could put Darius Slay one-on-one on Adam Thielen, and then you could put Nevin Lawson on their number 2 receiver and just have those 2 guys play them man-to-man.
Lawson's having a pretty Lawson's had a pretty impressive season, actually. A lot of people were saying he was going to be a liability, but I think he's actually probably been their best corner this year. I think he's only given up like 40 yards a game, 1 touchdown on the season.
His man-to-man skills are very underrated.
Yeah.
If he can't play, I feel like the Lions corners can just play one-on-one on the outside, and then they can just put 8 in the box, and they can just blitz, and they can just do whatever they want. I don't think the Lions will respect their passing game at all without Stephon Diggs.
Has got to teach him about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Is that a hot dog? Don't worry about it. Did you build a toilet kitchen? I added a kitchen to an already existing toilet. Is that a pocket dog? Yeah, this is a pocket dog. What's in the toilet is a dump dog. I got hot dogs coming and going, buddy. You're like a disgusting meat straw, Rafi. That is maybe the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Some in-season problems that you've noticed. This is your chance to, stand on your soapbox and raise your issues. What are some issues that you've noticed in your league of record? Are you you said you're the commissioner in one of your leagues?
I am.
What are some issues that you've noticed?
It's only the only league. I'm only in one league, and I am. It was interesting. Before the season started, I set a rule that it would be fair if we all wanted to veto a trade, we would all vote and veto it, and then and if there was a tie, the league manager, which is me, could just automatically veto the trade. In the case of a tie, league manager decides. In this case, also, the league manager can veto any trade at any time, even without the majority rule. That was the way it was set up. So, a guy in my league who, I believe he was 6-4 at the time, and he was in, I think, either the 4th or 5th seed going into the playoffs. He had a couple of really unfortunate losses, and his team is stacked, man. He's got Ezekiel Elliott, A.J. Green, Aaron Rodgers, and DeMarco Murray. So he's got a lot of star power on his team. He just had a couple of unfortunate losses.
Yeah, and probably a lot to do with strength of schedule. Yeah,
he played somebody and their guys just went off, or it happens.
Yeah.
But he has the most points in the league by 250 points. So the dude consistently scores 170, 180 points a week, and we're in a PPR league, so there's the points totals are inflated. But anyways, there's another person in my league who's we've played 11 games. He's 3-8, and he's lost 7 games in a row. He's eliminated from playoff contention. And he was just going to give away. Julio Jones and Alshon Jeffrey to this guy who already has a stacked team for nothing, because he's out. What does he care? And these dudes are bros. The exact trade was Carson Palmer. So the guy at 6-4 was going to get Carson Palmer, Julio Jones, and Alshon Jeffrey, who, as we know, is suspended. But he'll be back in time for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And could you imagine at the time, this is before A.J. Green got hurt, but could you imagine having your 1, 2, and 3 as Julio Jones, A.J. Green, and Alshon Jeffrey? In addition to having...
I think a lot of the trade probably had to do with the fact that maybe A.J. Green went down, too.
Well, this was before A.J. Green went down.
Oh.
And this is to add to already having Ezekiel Elliott, DeMarco Murray, and Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. So he would have been untouchable. And his friend was just going to give him these guys. And he was going to give up Steve Smith Sr. He's going to give up Steve Smith Sr., Matt Ryan, and Pierre Garçon, who, no offense to Steve Smith Sr. and Pierre Garçon, they're not bad players, but they're nowhere near on the level of Julio Jones and Alshon Jeffrey. And he could afford to give up Matt Ryan because he's already got Aaron Rodgers. So I was like, I felt like at this point, I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to leave this up to a veto. I'm just going to use my league managers and just veto this outright because this is collusion. He's going to rip off the rest of the league. If he gets Julio Jones and Alshon Jeffrey for nothing, really, and he just is allowed to go into the playoffs with that, he's gonna walk away with it. He's not gonna. No one's gonna be able to beat him, and this isn't right. So I vetoed it, of course.
I'll be the first to admit that I'm not a big guy on vetoing trades. I feel like, someone makes a trade and they're able to hustle a player away from another guy, then it should happen. But under certain circumstances like that, where it's obvious collusion, you need to, those are the kind of trades that do get vetoed. And a team that's like 3-8 has no business even making trades at this point in the season. That's just my honest opinion.
And that's how I feel.
It should be like an unwritten rule in your league that, hey, once you're out of playoff contention, your team's locked off in trades.
Because the guy who I vetoed his trade, he tried, he got very upset with me, and he tried explaining his actions by saying, well, I'm making his team better. His team's getting better off this trade. How's it unfair? You can't really tell me this guy's team's getting better when he's eliminated from playoff contention. Your team's getting better.
What does it matter if his team gets better? He's done.
Yeah, he's got 3 wins, and there's only 2 games left. The best he gets finished is 5-8, and that's not getting you in the playoff. You can't make a team better that's getting no playoff.
What do you think would be like a possible solution to this issue?
So I'll tell you what happened next. After A.J. Green got hurt, he tried to submit a different trade, a more fair trade. He was going to give up Aaron Rodgers and Amari Cooper in exchange for Julio Jones and Carson Palmer. And I vetoed that one too. And he got really upset.
3-8.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I was like, this trade's a lot better. I told him that, but I was like, I don't agree with what you're doing. You're just scavenging great players from bottom feeders. There's no way you can justify that to me. And of course, he got all upset, and the rest of the league got upset.
As a commissioner, you gotta be stern, and you gotta set the bar. Like, hey, listen here, motherfucker. The trade's not going through. The guy's team's out of contention. You have no business trading with him. If you want to do a similar trade with a team that is in contention for that, that's fine.
Yeah.
Another way to alleviate this issue is before the season even starts, have yourself, a league constitution stating the rules, like right there. And that way, if he wants to gripe and complain about it, be like, look, you knew the Constitution going in. It's right here. It's written black and white. You know what the rules are. That's another way you could alleviate it.
These are future things. This is, like you said, Johnny, definitely next year moving forward, things that I can do to make things better. Good ideas that I can put out to whoever I'm playing with, so that these type of situations
that's
don't
what this
arise.
show's going to be about. So,
yeah.
Another question for you that I have is, what would you do in a situation where someone's asking for their money back at this point in the year?
Tell them no. Because everybody in the league's playing for that pot.
Exactly. I agree with that. What if he gets pissed off that you tell him no, and then he just starts dropping players at will on purpose?
He starts doing what to players at will?
Just dropping them. To
affect the integrity of the league, like dropping like Le'Veon Bell into the free agent pool so someone else can just get him.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, obviously there's going to be some players that are considered undroppable, where like ESPN and Yahoo won't let you drop certain players, but there's still a lot of good players that you can't drop.
Yeah. Well,
what would you do if he started doing that?
What can you really do? I mean, I wouldn't give him his money back first and foremost, but if somebody decides they want to be bitter and just drop people because they lost and they can't handle it, there's really nothing you can do to stop them. I mean, they're going to go home. They're going to get on the internet. You can't physically stop them from doing this.
There's 2 things you could do.
You could just not play with them next year.
Well, I'm saying for like immediately, what you could do is, one, you could just remove his ownership from the team and find a replacement, which that's not a likely scenario. But another thing that you could do is you could also lock his team, which it's going to piss him off still, but at least, you'll keep the integrity of the league.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
just a shame.
that's just my 2 cents if something like that was to happen.
You know, before the season starts, I imagine what happens with a lot of leagues. You get like 10 to 12 guys that want to play that are all pretty buddy-buddy. They all meet somewhere at a sports bar, at somebody's house. They get drinks, they get pizza. They're all laughing and having a good time. Everybody's drafting their team. Everybody's talking trash, saying, oh, my team's so good. Your team sucks. I'm going to win it all. Ha, 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 ha. And then midway through the season rolls around, and it's not like that anymore.
It's not looking so hot no more.
Yeah, like you've got like 3 or 4 guys that are contending to make a run for it. You've got, you know what else makes you mad is you get those 2 guys that are in your league that don't even manage their team. You know, they start guys that are on bye weeks. They don't pick up free agents. They don't do anything. They're just there to.
Sometimes it's cool to have all your buddies in the league, and it sounds really fun and everything. But if you do stuff like that, you will see the tendency where people will just not manage their team. Like it happens to a lot of leagues. Sometimes you got to be really careful about who you pick to be in your league. I tend to not pick people that are going to be real busy. Maybe they're unemployed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's not I'm employed, and I put a lot of time in my fantasy football,
I was making a joke.
I got it, but I don't know. I don't think you have to put that much time into fantasy football. I put a decent amount of time into it, but nothing too crazy.
So far, this year, have you heard about any like wacky rules or in your league or maybe in someone else's league that you've heard about that you thought were just sounding crazy? Not
really. There's one in particular in my league though. It was a rule I made just to be different. And the same person that I vetoed their trade, he's the same person that constantly complains about this rule. I made extra points for kickers, and I made it mean nothing. You get no points for an extra point. And the reason why I did it was because if everybody makes their extra point, everybody's getting 1 point. It's only 1 point. You make an extra point, you get 1 point. What do you do?
Well, so what a lot of leagues are. What a lot of leagues are doing is they're just completely eliminating the kicker from the game. Like there is no kicker. There's no kicker slot. Like a lot of leagues do that.
My feelings wouldn't be hurt.
I like the idea. I hate kickers.
Nobody does any. Too. I like how you go on like NFL.com or whatever internet pages you go to look at stardom or sit 'em, and there's always the stardom sit 'em section for kickers. It'll say, start Dustin Hopkins because he's playing the Packers and they give up a lot of points to kickers. Like,
I got some pretty wacky stuff that I heard. Well, some of it's not really wacky to me, but it may be wacky to other people. Like I said, there's some leagues that don't use kickers or don't use defenses. It's just instead of having a kicker or a defense, maybe they have 3 flex positions. There's actually one league where I play in where you start two receivers, 2 running backs, but there's no starting tight end spot for you, but you can play 3 flexes, so you could potentially have 5 wide receivers, 5 running backs, or 3 running backs, 3 receivers, and like a tight end, or it's just a lot of different sets that you could play. You know what I mean?
That is kind of weird. It really changes how you got to draft your team.
Yeah. One league that I don't play in it, but someone was telling me about it. They have 2 flex positions, and in one of the positions you have to start a rookie. It's an unwritten rule, but I think it's kind of new and different. Throws a different element to the game.
I guess if you want to try something different and spice things up, I could see why you would do it. It's just not for me.
Yeah, like I said, it's a kind of like a wacky rule.
It is a wacky rule.
Have you noticed? I know we already touched on it a little bit, but have you noticed certain teams that might not be doing well that either tank or sabotage and or stop managing their team?
Nothing that I haven't already addressed.
Yeah. It's kind of a question that I wanted to ask because it kind of eases us into the next segment of the show, ways to enhance your league.
Guess what gift you don't want for Christmas this year? A non-consensual dick in your pussy, right? All of us, let's just close our eyes. Why would you close your eyes? Do you know me? P-Y-H. Protect your holes, okay? You just got to your car and a man shows up with these. What are they?
Nunchucks.
No, they are 2 dildos connected by a chain. Guess what, ladies? They're ribbed for your pleasure.
Oh,
okay?
God.
You think you're up against some sort of martial arts kung fu expert. What you don't know is he has designs to put both of these inside of you. Boop, 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 boop. Pick it up, put it in your mouth a little bit. Yaggity, 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 yaggity. You guys need to be always aware, no matter where you are.
I really feel that at the ATM.
Ass to mouth?
When I'm getting money at the bank.
Oh, the bank.
You just feel like they're going to come up behind
Well,
you.
of course, you're gorgeous.
Yes. Like, here I am. Oh, I'm so vulnerable.
To who?
And then I'm like,
Hey, guy. Whoa. Pam, I think I see what's going on.
Oh.
When you turn around, you think men are perceiving you as a sexual being.
Yes.
Men are just shocked you're a woman.
Yeah,
say
to make
you
it
have,
better.
Like, like say you have those teams that like tank or sabotage or stop paying attention because they're not doing well. You know, there's some ways where you could alleviate that issue. Like one of the things that me and Jamie were talking about to keep like the bad teams interested in trying to play is have weekly payout for the highest score. That way, there's still a way where you can win some money.
That would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, like what we kind of suggested is say like it's like $100 buy-in, or maybe even like $150 buy-in. You could have like $50 a week to where it just goes to the highest score.
Or you could have some sort of, you could go the opposite way. I'm not saying that that's a bad idea. I think that's a pretty good idea. You could also go the opposite way, though, and make some sort of deterrent for finishing last. You know, like the person who finishes last has to do something really humiliating or has to give someone money or something that's a deterrent to finishing last.
There is actually this account on Twitter, Fantasy Football Tattoos. They're not permanent, but they do last. But they're like last place tattoos. They say they'll say something like, "I suck at fantasy football," and it'll be like a unicorn on a fucking rainbow.
Yeah, you know, just something that's humiliating to that person.
I kind of like a bold bet or something. Like they have to do something crazy and you videotape it. You could put it on Facebook, and then everyone gets to see it and laugh at them, make fun of them, humiliate them.
Yeah.
Or another way. This is probably more geared towards like if you had a league for like 3 or 4 years and it's going well and everyone keeps returning to play. Or if it's like a keeper league or something like that, have like a mega pot. What that entails is say it's $100 buy-in. Half of that money for the buy-in you put in a separate pot, and that money will roll over to the next year. And so say it's a 12-man league, $50 a person, that's $600 that's rolling over to the next year, and it keeps on rolling over every year until someone repeats as defending champion. So
what's the odds of that happening?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Say 5 years goes by and no one wins it. It's a $3,000 pot just sitting there.
Okay.
And it also gives you a little bit of strategy. Maybe you want to set your team up for the long run. Like, hey, I can keep these two guys at a decent value. Try to make a run at it. That's just another way to That's just another way to enhance your league, keep people coming back and making people hungry.
There's always the closed-minded, most obvious response. Just pick better people to be in your league.
Yeah, that's probably one of my first suggestions would be to.
But you don't know. You may think someone's cool, and then halfway through the season, they just start acting weird or bitter or.
Yeah, there's always those people. Another option that I don't really care for a whole lot because it seems kind of like a lesser thing, but having like a loser bracket playoffs, like a toilet bowl. But I feel like, if you wanted to keep on playing, you should have played better.
Yeah, there should definitely not be a reward for having a crappy team.
Another thing that you do is, why wouldn't you want to play for a trophy, like a championship trophy or maybe a championship belt, like one of those wrestling belts?
We tried to do that. I love that idea.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get your league mates to pony up the extra dough for a trophy or a belt, I think that's a great idea.
I think it's too late in the season now.
Oh, I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is just ways that you can improve
Absolutely.
your league next year. You know.
Absolutely.
I know this is one for people that might have a little bit more time on their hands. Maybe they're good at writing and doing stuff like that. They could do weekly previews and recaps of their league and write like articles about like each matchup that is happening that week. For like between, say, like you're playing the last place team, and you can give like projections and like stuff like that. It doesn't even have to be, or it doesn't even have to be an article. It could be a video. Or
like
maybe
have a podcast for your league.
Yeah, basically.
That'd be pretty cool. And you could run it, and then each week have different guys from your league possibly show up on it.
Yeah,
let's face it,
I think that'd be I think it'd be a great idea.
Let's face it, Johnny. Most of us, when it comes to fantasy football, are pretty nerdy about this. Once the time of year comes around.
I mean, you have to be a nerd if you want to be good.
Yeah. And you could just look at your league. You can look at the standings and tell who's good and who pays attention. Who follows the injury report. You got to follow the injury reports, because when a guy goes down, who you want to go get his replacement.
My biggest thing is every day when you wake up, check the transaction log. During lunch, check the transaction log. Before you go to bed, check the transaction log. You'll be surprised at some of the players that get dropped during the middle of the day.
Oh, yeah. One of my buddies in my league dropped Jimmy Graham, and he dropped Thomas Rawls in the beginning of the season, and I now have both of them. And they both appear to be guys that are going to really pan out for me down the stretch into the playoffs.
That's great.
It's like, you threw away gold.
You know, one of my friends, I'm sure a lot of the listeners know who he is. He was on our show earlier. The preseason was PK Ripper. He was telling me about when the Lions went on bye, somebody dropped Theo Riddick, and it just fell right onto his lap because he just happened to be checking the transaction log while like probably taking a shit or something, and he has Theo Riddick on his team now.
Yeah. Good for him, man. Theo Riddick's a great, especially if it's a PPR league.
He's really a lot of people like to play.
Theo Riddick definitely dominates the Lions snaps for running backs, and honestly, Theo Riddick he's a steal. If you can scoop him up off the waiver wire at any time.
Yeah.
As long as he's not hurt.
One more suggestion that I have that could probably enhance your league and make it a lot more fun. That's something I haven't been able to do because obviously, being a military member, I don't really have the time to do something like this. Do a live draft. Get together, have some fun, have some beers, maybe shoot some pool or play some darts, and have a live draft. I think that sounds like a great idea. And have like a different way to pick your draft order. It doesn't just have to be like out of a hat and pulling names kind of boring style. It could be like something like playing beer pong and you shoot the ball into the cup and whatever the number is on the bottom of the cup, that's what pick you have.
That's different.
One league I did a couple of years ago, the NASCAR playoffs, what was it called, the Chase? I don't know, but anyways, it gets down to 12 racers. It's before the season. Usually it's before the draft happens, and we each picked a race car driver, and whatever place they finished in that race, that's what draft pick we had. That's just something different.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. Is there anything else you want to bring up in ways to enhance your league?
No. I think we spent enough time on that topic.
This is my Brolo, my El Cunado, Rafi. And when I'm gone, Rafi's the man of the house. What does the man of the house get to do, Raf? Anything he wants to anybody at any time. He's a convicted felon. Twice. And he's going to be staying with us. You a light sleeper? Heavy sleeper?
Heavy.
Nice. Can you just say the word yes? Just say it out loud.
Yes.
Consent. You heard it. You're a lawyer.
I'm going to go to my room. Just let me know when dinner's ready.
Okay. No closed doors. Well, I think she's pretty disgusted by you. Challenge accepted. Well, you should absolutely court her, Rafi. Yeah, I'm going to court-martial her vagina with a wiener.
All right, let's jump into some Vegas picks.
I like it.
As you know, I'm a big on Vegas picks being able to help you out with your fantasy teams, because a lot of times you can use the Vegas spreads to kind of predict how the game's going to go. I know we were talking about this game a little bit earlier in the show. Minnesota's going to be on the road against Detroit. Detroit is favored by 3 at home. And, Minnesota might be without Stephon Diggs. Do you like Detroit at home, favored by 3? They're giving up 3 points to Minnesota.
This game I feel like this game's a coin flip, to be honest. However, I'll give you a couple of fun stats that might favor the Lions if you like fun stats. I mean, you pointed out Stephon Diggs being out. I think that's going to be absolutely huge. No Stephon Diggs, this Minnesota offense becomes very unintimidating considering their lack of run game and their injuries at their offensive line. But, Detroit's at home. That should mean a little something. This is the first time Detroit's played at home on Thanksgiving, and it's actually meant something really in a while. I mean, both teams are 6-4. Both teams, the winner of this is going to be in the driver's seat.
I was just about to ask, do you think whoever wins this game is most likely going to win the division?
I do. I think Green Bay's done. Their defense looks pathetic. They can't stop anybody. They can't tackle. They can't cover. They've been decimated.
Barely their defense.
They've been decimated on both sides of the ball by injuries. It's bad when you got a wide receiver consistently playing running back. Aaron Rodgers is making excuses. He looks pouty, wimpy. They're a mess. There's questions about Mike McCarthy's job security. I think Green Bay's kind of a dumpster fire right now. I think it's going to come down to Detroit against Minnesota, and I think whoever wins this game has a much better shot, and whoever loses this game is probably going to miss the playoffs, because I don't think the second place team in this division is going to get a wild card spot. This game is going to come down to.
I think there's going to be at least 2 teams in the East that are going to make the playoffs. Maybe even
absolutely.
3.
Absolutely.
Because
I absolutely agree.
There'll be one out west. There'll be Seattle. Well, I think there'll be one down south that could be probably most likely it could be. Honestly, I think. I was gonna say Atlanta. I think Atlanta, but I was saying Tampa Bay does have a nice schedule down the stretch too. I know they've kind of been up and down all year. I
disagree when you say that their schedule's good. I've seen it. I can't name the teams they play off the top of my head, but it's not. I mean, they play Seattle this week. That's going to be tough.
I mean, after Seattle, the schedule does get considerably better for them. I know I think weeks 14 and 16 they play the Saints, which that could obviously go either way. Saints are 5-5 too, so
they just don't play no defense, man.
No, not at all.
But back to the Detroit, Minnesota. I think it's going to come down to whoever wants it more. And you know what? I'll take a side. You can't sit on the fence. I don't think. I'll go with Detroit to cover the spread.
Detroit's been in a lot of close games. I could see them covering the spread as well. I'd have to go with them.
While we're talking about each of these individual games, you think it'd be prudent to just talk about who on each team might be worth starting or sitting? That way we can knock out 2 birds with 1 stone.
Really, the only guy I really feel comfortable starting in that entire game is Theo Riddick.
I'd start Eric Ebron and Kyle Rudolph.
Kyle Rudolph. Yeah, I'd start Kyle Rudolph. I can see him having like a mediocre stat line, because at least it seems like a lot of times when tight ends score against Detroit, they still only have like 30 or 40 yards, and I could see him having a line kind of like that, like 440 for the touchdown.
4 for 40 and a touchdown? Yeah. That's still pretty good. That's still like 14
I know,
points.
that's good for a tight end. That's good for a tight end.
So, you wouldn't start Adam Thielen if Stephon Diggs can't go?
I mean, if you're in desperation mode, that's about it.
And you don't like Golden Tate.
Say maybe you had A.J. Green and you didn't really have a lot of depth behind him. I could see then you can maybe play Thielen. But like I said, it's a desperation play.
So I'll be the first to admit, I'm very biased when it comes to my favorite team, which is the Detroit Lions. I look at the injury reports a lot more for those games than I do for the other teams, and I got to own that. Minnesota's pretty banged up on the defensive side of the ball. Terrence Newman missed practice. Sheriff Floyd missed practice. Harrison Smith missed practice. Anthony
Harrison Smith
Dejo
really
missed
isn't that
practice.
good in coverage anyways, so.
Yeah. Apparently
He's
Chad Greenway
he's
might
better at
miss the
stopping the
game.
run.
Yeah, Harrison Smith's an 8-man in the box safety for sure. I think, man, if some of these guys don't play Sunday, I don't know. Do you think? Here's an interesting stat for you, Johnny. All right.
What's up?
The last 3 years on Thanksgiving Day, the Lions scored more than 30 points, and they blew out all three of their opponents. They blew out Philly last year. The year before that, they blew out. It was the year they went to the playoffs. They blew out Chicago, and then the year before that, they blew out Green Bay.
Interesting. I knew about Chicago and I knew about Philadelphia. I do not remember that Green Bay game though.
It was the year when Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's when the Lions weren't even that good, but I think they shut Green Bay out actually.
It was 40-10. That was like Reggie Bush and Joy Bell. Both ran for 100 yards. Like the past few years, they've come out and just exploded on people. So, what if it can happen again? I mean, Minnesota has a really good defense, but I don't know.
Not so hot lately. Let's go over to Pittsburgh's on the road against Indianapolis. They're favored by a field goal. It looks like Andrew Luck might not play for this game. He's in the concussion protocol. And, a lot of people are saying stream Pittsburgh's defense. I don't really feel comfortable doing that, but, I definitely could see them running away with this game. And the over and unders at 51.5. I don't feel like they're going to hit that mark. I could see the score being something like, I could see it being like 24-10, 24-17, something like that.
I don't know. I think both of these teams are kind of disappointing, and I don't really know what to make of either. I feel like neither one of these teams really has an identity.
I feel like Pittsburgh is they look a lot. They're very similar to the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, their defense is not good. Le'Veon Bell's a stud. Antonio Brown's a stud. But other than that, fantasy-wise, nobody else. They're so inconsistent. Like when they're at home, Ben Roethlisberger puts up crazy numbers, and then when he goes on the road, he gets like 15 fantasy points. So it's
it's been like that for a couple of years for him actually.
And they're on the road this week, so like, are we going to see that?
That's what I'm saying. I could see them getting like around like 24 points on that Indianapolis defense this week.
I feel so bad for Andrew Luck when I think about the Indianapolis Colts. Because I could just see this game. I could see this game as just a game where Chuck Pagano and them they pull some crazy crap, and they throw Andrew Luck back out there. I feel like they don't care about Andrew Luck at all. Like last year, he was playing with broken ribs, and they're not getting him help. Like he's such a good player, and he's such a nice guy, and they're just content with they're just content with not giving him any help.
I know they did draft a center in the first round this past season, but they got a long way to go. Let's just hypothetically say Andrew Luck's not playing. Say if you're a T.Y. Hilton owner or a Deontay Moncrief owner, are you starting them this week if Andrew Luck's not playing?
I don't think you can. I'm a Deontay Moncrief owner, and I don't think I'm going to start him. I mean,
think about when Andrew Luck is playing. Yeah, he's gotten like a touchdown in like 3 straight games. But if you look into his stat line, he's only getting like 40 or 50 yards a game. If he doesn't take away that touchdown, and that could be a very mediocre day, especially if Andrew Luck's not playing. Like, if you go back to last year when Hasselbeck was the quarterback, like, Moncrief wasn't doing a whole lot.
Yeah, I think you just sit him. I mean, unless you've got no other options at receiver, which if you don't have one or two nice little guys on the bench at this point, I mean, you're kind of fucked, I think. I think you just wait it out. I think you make this. I feel like it's the safer, more solid routes. Just bench them and put someone else in. Find somebody that's got a really good, juicy matchup this week and just throw them in for a week. And you know what? If Dante Moncrief or T.Y. Hilton has a really good game without Andrew Luck, then that should just be an encouraging sign for you going forward that, wow, if he can put up these numbers with Andrew Luck, I've got a good player here that I'm going to be even more excited about.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully if you have one of those players, you are in a good situation. Say maybe you're like 7-4, 8-3, and maybe you could afford to sit them. I'm not saying that you should, especially if you don't have any better options. But if you're sitting at 8-3 or 7-4, you probably have better options.
Yeah, you've been doing something right.
As far as the game's going, I'm picking Pittsburgh to cover this spread, but I would consider picking the under in this game.
I'm sorry, what was the spread again?
The spread, Pittsburgh is giving up 3 on the road. The over and under is set at 51.5.
So Pittsburgh's favored by 3.
Yes.
I go with Pittsburgh to cover that.
Yeah, me too.
To exceed winning by 3. I'd give them that.
All right, let's go over Cincinnati on the road against Baltimore. Baltimore is favored by 4.5 at home. The over and under is really low. It's only at 40.5. So Vegas is thinking this is going to be a low scoring game, and I tend to agree with them actually.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be tuning in to see what happens.
I mean,
to put it frankly,
Cincinnati's season looks like it's done.
Yeah, such a disappointing season. Even for Baltimore too. I think they were 3-0 to start the season, and they've kind of fallen off. I think they're at 500, or maybe they're below 500.
They're at 500 and they're in first place.
Yeah,
only because they beat Pittsburgh though.
Baltimore's favored by 4.5.
They're favored by 4.5 on the road.
I hate when Vegas odds makers give someone a half a point, because it's like, it's very common in the NFL where you see a team up by 4 points at the end of the game. You see a team up to like 28-24. A team with 4 points has the ball with 2 minutes to go, and they've got to go down and get a touchdown to win the game. That's not too uncommon of a situation. And by giving that half point, that really messes up. That really could mess up how you win or lose money if you're putting money on these games.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas is probably projecting this game to look like 22-18 in favor of Baltimore.
I mean, I could see that. I could also see Baltimore winning by more than 4.5 points, because I think Cincinnati's a disaster. But then again, I don't think Baltimore's going to put up a lot of points either.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Baltimore's offense isn't really that good, and I feel like Cincinnati, they do those fucking wacky formations, and they usually come out in the game kind of hot, and then they cool off as the game goes on. Yeah.
What did you think about when Ray Lewis called out Joe Flacco and said he lacks passion? And then Joe Flacco responded to him, and then I guess Ray Lewis apologized to him on Instagram or Twitter.
I did not hear about this, actually.
Yeah, man. Apparently several days ago, Ray Lewis said he has no passion, and Joe Flacco was.
Well, he has every right to say that. Actually, in my opinion.
I don't think Joe Flacco has passion. He's very a statue, very boring.
I mean, if you look at the way he's been playing this year, it looks like he is playing without any passion. He's playing real flat. I think he has only one multi-touchdown game on the season. He's been no good.
What did we used to always call him a few years ago? Pussy Flacco.
Pussy Flacco. Now we call him Flaccid.
Yeah. But Ray Lewis apologized to him for making those comments, and I really didn't think he had to. I didn't really think he owed him an apology. I mean, I think it was a nice gesture, but if you meant what you said, you can stand by it. If Joe Flacco wants to get offended, I mean, he can get offended.
I mean, in terms of this spread, though, I do think Baltimore is going to win this game, but I do not think they're going to cover the spread. I could see them winning this game like 20-17. Yeah,
I could too.
So I had to pick against the spread on this one.
You know what? You just convinced me. I think I'm going to flip-flop and go to Cincinnati. Because when a game is such a low-scoring game, when a game is so low-scoring like that, you got to believe it's going to be decided by a field goal or less. It'd be
that's what I'm saying. That's why I'd pick against the spread and take Cincinnati.
You could see a 16-13 game or something. Something was boring and terrible to watch like that.
Just look at look no further than last week. Cincinnati played Buffalo, and it was 16-12.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is there anybody on either one of those teams that you like for fantasy football?
Yeah,
maybe Mike Wallace
maybe not,
or...
Maybe not necessarily this week, but for the rest of the season, I like Jeremy Hill based on volume alone.
The injury to Giovanni Bernard.
It's going to increase his volume a lot, and maybe if you're in some PPR leagues, Burkhead might not be a bad option to pick up because he's going to be that third down back.
So you're not really crazy about anybody from this game.
I mean, Andy Dalton's looked like shit for the past couple of weeks. I've been avoiding Baltimore players pretty much all season, although Mike Wallace, he has some good weeks. You just don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe Steve Smith.
Steve Smith here, Baltimore's defense. That might not be a bad choice.
Yeah, Baltimore's defense, they're not bad at all. I mean, I know they've started out a lot hotter and they're starting to cool off a little bit, but they're not bad at all. Especially
every
against
week.
the offense that doesn't have any more weapons left. So
I wouldn't even be surprised, if people are listening out there and you're in a league, I wouldn't even be surprised if Baltimore's defense is on the waiver wire. It seems like every week I'm cutting my defense to find one with the most favorable matchup, and I've seen the Rams defense available. I've seen, and this would be the Rams playing against like the Browns, and they'll be available. Like how can you not like that?
I like Detroit's defense this week. I like Tennessee's defense this week.
Who's Tennessee playing?
Tennessee plays Chicago, and you're going to be without Jay Cutler.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Detroit plays Minnesota, and I like Buffalo's defense this week. They play Jacksonville. They like to turn the ball over a lot. So, and Buffalo's one of the league leaders in sacks. So, I really like that matchup quarterback. Too.
And Jerry Hughes can get after it.
Yeah, so those are my four favorites.
I like all of those. I think those are good choices. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those choices.
Another game that intrigues me in terms of betting.
What's that?
You got Seattle on the road against Tampa Bay. Seattle is favored by 6.5 points. The over and under is 45. I could easily see Tampa Bay losing by a touchdown. I could see Seattle beating them maybe like 28-20, or maybe not even that. Maybe it might be like 28-14, something along those lines.
I mean, Tampa Bay.
They've been up and down all year.
They are. They're so inconsistent. They played good at times, and then they almost beat Oakland. They lost to Oakland in overtime. They beat Kansas City at Arrowhead. That's impressive.
That is pretty impressive.
I mean, but they beat the Panthers on Monday Night Football, which if you watch that, I feel sorry for you, but they did. They got a stud in Mike Evans. Doug Martin's back and healthy. That could help.
Didn't he get? I think he got over 20 touches last week.
I look at Tampa Bay's offensive players. I don't think they match up very well against Seattle. So I think about Mike Evans.
I think Tampa Bay kind of struggles with physical teams too. So.
I think of Mike Evans, for example. Why is he so good? Because he's a big physical guy. And you put him up against like the Cam Chancellors or the Richard Shermans, who's a very tall corner who can tackle. I don't like Mike Evans in that matchup.
Not really, no.
I don't really like any running back that goes against Seattle. Doug Martin might be able to put up points in a PPR league because he'll probably be good for a couple of checkdowns, and he might eke in, a goal line touchdown maybe.
Really the only time like running backs were having good games against Seattle is when Cam Chancellor was out, but since he came back, they've been a lot better.
He's a beast. He's an absolute beast. I feel like every time I watch him, he's stripping the ball out of somebody or making like a hard hit or a crucial tackle.
Week.
Yeah, he's a stud.
So would you take Seattle with that spread, 6.5?
Yeah, I think so. I think Russell Wilson's a better quarterback than Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I would take that spread with confidence.
You know what, though? I will say this, because Tampa Bay is just, they're weird, man. It would not surprise me if they somehow won this game. It's the NFL. What the NFL
was it a
taught me
couple of
one
years
thing,
ago where
Johnny.
they performed really good against Seattle, actually?
Yes, it was the year they were terrible. It was when Shiano was their coach, I believe, and they almost won.
I think it was the year Seattle won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's the NFL, man. What the NFL
Anything can happen any given week.
We think we know. We think we're knowledgeable football fans, and turns out we don't really know shit.
What I tell people all the time is, if you're right more than half the time, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah. What other games you got, Johnny?
We got Green Bay at Philadelphia. Philadelphia's favored by 3.5, and the over/under is at 47.5. I mean, it's kind of hard to pick Green Bay in this one. I feel like Philadelphia's going to win this one easily. But I say that they'll win like 30-20 or something like that.
I don't know. I don't think either of these teams is really any good. I think these are both mediocre teams, so I think this could go either way. Philly has been a lot better at home.
Here's the way I'm looking at it. The way I'm looking at it is Green Bay's been really bad at stopping the pass. And, Sproles is banged up. Ryan Matthews is banged up. Neither one of them might play. They're going to have to air the ball out a little bit, and that's not going to play into Green Bay's favor whatsoever. I know they don't really have the greatest receiving options. We got Jordan Matthews, and that's it. But, Ertz has been turning it on lately these past 3 weeks. I think he has like 26 targets and 20 catches, and he scored a touchdown last week. So maybe he's turning his season around.
Every year, Zach Ertz is one of the biggest sleepers.
He's always one of the people that's in a coma. He just never wakes up.
You hit it best,
a position. That's a position where Green Bay is really struggling defending with is the tight end. So
it is, absolutely. I don't like Philly's receivers, but then again, all of Green Bay's corners it seems like are banged up. So who knows?
I think at one point they had to use a safety at corner.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe Nelson Aguilar can beat whoever the heck Green Bay has out there.
Fuck that guy. He's a piece of shit. Like he's not just in the sense that he's a bad football player. He is a real life piece of shit. He has the audacity to say, "Oh, my drops don't matter," but then he goes and drops a pass on 3rd down or drops a pass on 4th down, and it doesn't matter. Shrug my shoulders.
They actually say that?
Yeah.
That's silly.
Like if that's the kind of talent that they're bringing to that team, like Green Beckham has no chance on that team. That's the kind of attitude the receivers have.
Yeah, they're not good. Green Bay, I mean, do you like Aaron Rodgers in this game? Do you think you could start him or sit him in this game?
I mean, if you got him, you're starting him, but I wouldn't feel very hot about starting him. Just put it that way. I'm kind of neutral on him, Lately, he has been having some pretty good stats, but that's because they really have no running game, so they have no choice, and he's throwing the ball 50 times a game.
And they're behind all the time, and
yeah.
And
so, I mean, that's one thing that is working. That's one thing that's working for him. They're going to be playing they play from behind more often than not lately. He throws the ball 50 times a game. He actually has some good receiving options. Devontae Adams somehow learned how to catch the ball, so he's not constantly dropping it anymore. Jordy Nelson's still a touchdown machine.
He is.
I think that if they can get Christine Michael going, get him activated, get him learning the playbook, they won't need to use Ty Montgomery as a running back anymore, and they can move him maybe into like the slot, like having like a kind of like a rotation, like more of a rotational player. But
I just don't. Maybe I'm a pessimist. I don't see the Christine Michael move panning out too well for him. I mean, you bring him in. We're past the halfway point in the season, and you're bringing him in. He's got no chemistry with his teammates. None of these guys know anything about him. He doesn't know the playbook. He's never played with Aaron Rodgers, and you're going to ask him to come in and be the guy. Like, I don't know. I think it might be a little bit too much on his plate.
I don't necessarily think they're relying on him very much, though. They got Starks back, who I don't really think is a very good running back either. But I don't really think Christine Michael's going to hurt Starks' value that much, though. I think the only person that Christine Michael hurts is Ty Montgomery. He's going to cut into his workload.
I think I really like Ty Montgomery as like a nice little flex player this week. I do. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have to get the ball out quickly, and that's going to mean good. I think that could mean good days for Randall Cobb and good days for Ty Montgomery.
I do feel like, Philadelphia's pass rushers, which is one of the best in the league so far this year, is going to give Green Bay a lot of issues on that offensive line. And, it could be a long day for Green Bay.
Could.
So, yeah, I do agree with the checking down. Who's going to get those check downs? It's going to be like Starks on a screen. I know they like to do that a lot. It could be Ty Montgomery. He only had 7 touches last game, but a lot of them were receptions out of the backfield. He did have that one touchdown that was called back. So I mean, they're gonna have to do something. They're gonna have to do something because they don't really have a tight end that can block very well either.
No, Ty Montgomery's not getting goal line carries.
No.
So that's
even when they tried that out and it didn't work very well. I was telling a lot of people that first week that they used him as a running back and he had like 16, 17 touches. I was telling everyone.
It's fool's gold.
That's what I did. I picked him up off the waiver wires. I started him one week and I traded him for Latavius Murray.
Did burn you when you put him in? Or were you still able to eke out a victory?
Oh, yeah, no, I won that week.
Yeah. I think that was the smart move, though. You got rid of him while he still had a little bit of value.
Well, because, I knew that Starks wasn't going to be out forever.
I don't like Starks, though. Like, what is good about him? James Starks. He tries to run everything to the outside. He tries to run to the outside of every play. But, that would be okay if he was actually fast. I agree. Yeah. He's not CJ2K.
Yeah. Well, I think that's as far as we're going to get into it. We will definitely get more in depth with our matchup show tomorrow. Is there anything else you want to add, Rico?
I got duty tomorrow, so I won't be able to join you, man.
It's okay. You'll be with us in spirit.
Absolutely.
I hope
all I can
that
say
you have
is
a great
thanks for having me on, man. Yeah,
I appreciate it. I hope we give you a lot of good ideas for future leagues.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm just hoping that when the playoffs come here, I can turn it on. You know what I'm saying, man?
Yeah, good luck. You're 9-2.
Yeah. I'm terrified. I'm terrified of going in there with the best record and then just laying an egg.
Yeah. Last year in our league's record, Jamie looked like he was poised to take it, and he lost in the first round.
Yeah, that sucks.
Even worse, he lost to the 6th seed.
How's Jamie's team doing?
He has been very, very, very unlucky this year. He actually has a good team. No, he actually has a good team, but he started out 0-5. He lost like 4 games by less than 10 points.
Yeah.
Combined. Like, he lost 4 games combined 10 points or lower.
Oh wow. Combined? So that means he lost like every week by 2 points?
Yeah. And
who's he got on his team?
Ben Roethlisberger, Marcus Mariota. He had Ezekiel Elliott. He actually ended up trading him away in a package deal. He had Alshon Jeffrey. This is the funniest trade in the world. He had Alshon Jeffrey. He traded them it was like some kind of package deal. It was but he ended up getting Ware and Golden Tate or something like that.
Oh, Golden Tate's been a huge disappointment.
Yeah, so that was pretty shitty. And then he's been picking it up as of late though. He's on a 3-game winning streak.
That's good.
But he's still 4-7 though.
No playoff.
No, actually, he's a game out.
Ooh. And you're locked in that 4th seed right now?
Yes, sir.
Do you guys do first round buys?
Yes, sir. I feel like I'm playing K-Mill. The winner between us, I feel like, because whoever wins between us two, I think is going to get that 2 seed as a first round bye.
Ooh. You better bring the A game, buddy.
I have some excellent matchups, so.
Nice, man. Well, good luck to you, Johnny, and I'll be talking to you. I'll be talking to you soon, man.
All right, that'll pretty much do it for today's show. Thank you for listening, Fifth Downers. If you like the show, please give us a rate and review on iTunes. That'd be greatly appreciated. You can also catch us on Stitcher and catch us on Blog Talk Radio. If you have any questions, feel free to follow us on Twitter at the Fifth Down FF. We are always available to answer all questions, no matter how silly they may seem. Peace out, Fifth Downers.
Peace.